What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel, welcome to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet VGC 2023 video. Today we're going to talk about the Orlando Regionals, which were the biggest Pokemon VGC Regionals of all time. It's really exciting, the game is growing to such an extent that yes, we finally have 2 days of Swiss. That's huge. Okay, I wanted to point that out. We have 2 days of Swiss now. Before we had, so this tournament, right? This tournament, we showed up at what was it? It was 7:30 to make sure that we got our wristbands and we're able to be in the venue. And if you were to play all 11 or all 10 rounds, which I did not, I ended up dropping after round 6, I think, because I just wasn't performing well and went to go hang out with people. If you were to play all 10 rounds, you were there until 11, and if you top cut, you had to get back there at 7:30. So switching to 2 days of Swiss is just huge for being able to just get through the day. I just want to point that out. We are growing like crazy, so just throw that in the front end of the video. Just very proud of the community. But yeah, before we get into this video where I talk about the results of the tournament, if you guys enjoy this, do me a favor, leave a like in the video, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications, because I bring you daily competitive Pokemon content. And answer my comment question of the day: what do you think was the biggest breakout Pokemon of this tournament? Let's go ahead and get into it. So the regional was in Orlando and it was packed, dude. There were so many teams. We played 10 rounds and Wolf ended up winning the whole thing. But man, the variety of teams that we saw here was actually really interesting, because we had Perish Trap win the whole thing, and I don't think we saw Perish Trap anywhere else. Hold on, let me see. There's a Gothitelle here on a DTS team. Yeah, or we did see some more Perish Trap. But yeah, it ended up winning the whole thing, and I just thought that was super duper cool. But I want to talk about generally what I saw during the tournament and the trends with the metagame right now. And I have to say that I think one of the biggest breakout Pokemon that we saw this tournament was Tyranitar. Tyranitar just does so well into everything. So we see it here on James Evans' team, who got third or top 4, and we also see it here on Toller Webb's team, who got top 8. Some commonalities that we see between them is that the Tyranitar are going to be Assault Vest with Terra Flying Terra Blast. And this is actually really cool. Tyranitar is actually a Pokemon that has some pretty impressive bulk once you give it the Assault Vest due to the Sandstream ability. The Sandstream ability does make it so you probably don't want to run Focus Sash anywhere on your team, since you can't run them next to each other safely. You'll end up breaking your own Sash. But the trade-off for that is just having a Pokemon that does well into a ton of matchups. So if we just look at things that are common throughout the metagame, Tyranitar obviously being one of the few good rock types this format, does very well into things like Talonflame, does super well into Armarouge as well, since Armarouge just cannot touch Tyranitar for the life of it. If you lead off Indeedee Armarouge into Tyranitar and you don't have Energy Ball, and even if you do have Energy Ball, you're not going to be able to do that much damage. It takes almost nothing from Armor Cannon, and it's completely immune to Psychic moves, like Psychic and Expanding Force. So Psy Spam just does so bad into it. Other things that actually does pretty well into, funny enough, is going to be Iron Bundle. Yes, Iron Bundle has super effective coverage, or a super effective stab for hitting Tyranitar, but with that Sand Boost and the Assault Vest, you're going to be able to just straight up live that hit, off of Hydro Pump, and then hit it back with a Rock Slide, which will do some pretty significant damage. Yes, Iron Bundle has really good physical defense, but its HP stat is super duper low, so that does pretty decent into that. Also, if you want to predict them to go for the Hydro Pump that first turn and you want to make sure that you live the hit, you could possibly Terra Flying and just make sure that's not super effective that turn and hit him with a Terra Blast. That's another option, but Rock Slide's probably better if you don't want to risk the miss. So that's the thing that you can do. Other things it does well into, just Flutter Mane has, it can hit it with Terra Flying, Moonblast, and Dazzling Gleam, but once again, the general bulk that Tyranitar has means that it doesn't actually get knocked out by that, barring a crit or maybe a Helping Hand. If you, I don't know, it's very hard to KO this thing with special moves, and obviously Tyranitar has that naturally high physical attack stat. If we actually go ahead and take a look at this thing, here. Tyranitar's physical attack stat is 134, obviously, has really good special bulk. If you smack that thing with a Crunch or a Terra Blast Flying or anything, it's gonna drop. Flutter Mane has really, really bad physical defense. Every single stat that isn't the bottom 3 stats here is 55. It's not living physical hits. And if they're not running Focus Sash, they drop. And even if they are running Focus Sash, because of the fact that Tyranitar breaks Sashes, it just puts in so much work. Think of all the good Focus Sash Pokemon in this format. We have Fluttermane, we have Tatsugiri, we have Iron Bundle. What else is here? That's like a really decent Focus Sash user. Meowscarada, while it isn't like super common anymore, we still see it, so like it does super well into that. Roaring Moon also does almost nothing to Tyranitar since it's usually the Terra Flying set, and even if it isn't the Terra Flying set, even if it is just like gonna be, well, this one is Terra Flying, even if it is just like a general attacker and it doesn't Terra, it can't hit Tyranitar for like anything unless it has like Earthquake. Some negative matchups that it has obviously are going to be like into Iron Hands, but it just covers so much. Also, it does not that great into Great Tusk. It's sort of forced to Terra. So yeah, I think that we're definitely going to see like Assault Vest Terra Flying Tyranitar pick up throughout the rest of the season. Obviously, you know, the metagame might adjust. If that ends up being too dominant, we'll have different ways of beating it. Another thing to mention is there were about as many Brute Bonnet in Top Cut as there were Amoonguss. And this is a good time to cover this, and I might make it a YouTube short as well, just to talk about this. But I get questions from a lot of the newer players asking why don't people use Amoonguss over Brute Bonnet? And the truth of the matter is, beyond clicking Spore, they are nothing alike. They are completely different Pokemon, if we're being real. So we see that Wolf won with Amoonguss. Now, what Amoonguss wants to do is it's going to be like a Rage Powder, Spore, and Pollen Puff spammer. You see we have Protect, Rage Powder, Spore, Pollen Puff. It's actually running Mental Herb to avoid getting taunted by things like Talonflame, which is, you know, it's obviously really weak too. But yeah, it's what it's going to do is it's going to redirect hits away from the team, and it's going to be able to switch in and out with Regenerator, be generally bulky, and just be a nuisance throughout the entire match. And obviously putting things to sleep with Spore is super nice for the team. Brute Bonnet, on the other hand, is an offensive Pokemon. It is an offensive Pokemon that just happens to have access to Spore, and this one did have Pollen Puff. But while Ashton's team here was like more of a, I guess you can call this a more supportive Brute Bonnet. Obviously, like that Crunch is meant to like pick up KOs, but the more common set that we would see was actually the Bullet Seed set with loaded. Oh, hold on, this one's also supportive. Where's the Bullet Seed one? I could have sworn there was a Bullet Seed one. Was it you? Yeah, here it is. Sorry. I was like, I like saw so many Bullet Seed ones throughout the tournament. Yes, you can run Rage Powder and Spore. Those are like standard, but like generally you want 2 attacks on it, which Amoonguss doesn't typically do. But yeah, we see Protect, Spore, Bullet Seed, Crunch, and like the main advantage of Terra Fairy Bullet Seed is the fact that like you're going to be able to come in on things that will usually KO you. Like Iron Hands is a Pokemon that you're really, really scared of with Amoonguss or Brute Bonnet, because you don't want to have to take like a super effective fighting move. Other Pokemon that you don't like having to deal with are going to be like Iron Bundle, even like Tyranitar. You don't go positively into those things. So being able to switch to a Fairy type and cover most of those defensive weaknesses that you have, being Fighting, Bug, what else? Those are the only 2 off the top of my head, but defensively, Fairy's like obviously super solid. It's going to make it so you resist basically fighting moves. That's going to allow you to Spore things and even just sit on Pokemon and go for those Bullet Seeds. Bullet Seed actually does like super well into Palafin teams because Palafin's like naturally bulky. Brute Bonnet needs a move that is a little bit stronger than 80 base power to be able to pick up some close KOs. So with Bullet Seed here and not Protosynthesis, Loaded Dice, we see that it's actually 25 base power. You're actually going to be minimum 100 base power, 100% accuracy. That's a really strong move. Most grass moves, like some of the like strongest grass type attackers in the history of the game, like Kartana, yes, it had like a higher attack stat, but like Leaf Blade on like a physical Pokemon is like generally what you want to run. Like I guess other, like it's either like Leaf Blade or like Seed Bomb, right? So being able to run Loaded Dice Bullet Seed is just so much better. It's just, I don't know, the consistency across the board, being able to break Focus Sashes and KO stuff like Iron Bundle, super nice because it's like one of the best Sash Pokemon in the game. So just knowing that you score a one-shot on that is like just very, very impressive. Also, the crit potential on Dondozo is very nice since Dondozo has like that physical defense boost. What you can actually do is Spore into them and then go for Bullet Seeds, and you get a lot of damage off on Dondozo if it hasn't Terra'd because you have the chance for crits. You know, it's just like a generally strong move. Like Brute Bonnet's just a Pokemon that does very well this format. Also, just having Sucker Punch for being able to pick up KOs versus things where you can't Terra. Like let's say you already wasted your Terra on another Pokemon. Being able to go for like Adamant Max Attack Sucker Punches into stuff like Fluttermane or Golden Go is going to be super nice for just everything, man. But yeah, I do want to talk about Great Tusk. I mentioned that I think Great Tusk is like super nice this format. We saw a lot of Great Tusk across this. And what we have noticed is that Great Tusk, Talonflame, and Fluttermane is just a insanely consistent core. I have been personally trying it out ever since the tournament ended because I faced it a lot of times in Swiss and I found it very difficult to deal with. One of the great tusks that I faced in Swiss was actually Clear Amulet. While that isn't like the most common item on it, in fact, we see, you know, Life Orb. I think we saw Focus Sash on Emilio's team. Yeah, this Pokemon's able to just do crazy work. It's able to click. All right, so here's the thing, right? Usually when you have a Pokemon that's like a ground type attacker, you have to choose either Earthquake or Stomping Tantrum because high horsepower isn't like in this game. Like it isn't as common in this game, right? Like if we look at like VGC 2022 or 2023 and we look for high horsepower Pokemon, these are our options. These are our options, right? So we don't get that move. If we want to run like a ground type move on a Pokemon like Garchomp, we have to choose between Earthquake or Stomping Tantrum. Now, Earthquake with spread damage ends up being the exact same power as Stomping Tantrum. So it's basically just, do you want to hit your partner and everything on the field, or do you want to like single target things? You know what doesn't have this issue? That's right. This Pokemon's so stupid, dude. Great Tusk doesn't have this issue. So it has 131 base attack and 87 speed and like really good physical bulk. Like that's really nice, this format, but it's able to click both Earthquake. You can run this on a set and Headlong Rush. So Earthquake is a, like, you know, with spread damage, 75 base power, single target, 100 base power. But Headlong Rush, on the other hand, is just ground type close combat. This is a ridiculous, like, button to be able to click. So it also gets access to close combat, obviously. So like this is like a set that you'll sometimes see ran. Sometimes you'll even see like them dropping Protect for Substitute. Because honestly, if you get a Substitute off with Great Tusk, it's basically game in a lot of situations. Tailwind plus Substitute, if your Pokemon doesn't get a KO on Tusk and you like haven't been intimidated, you're just able to click like Terra Ground Earthquake, which we saw a lot of Great Tusks do this in this tournament. I think James was running Terra Ground. Yeah, this is the Life Orb Substitute set. It's such a good Pokemon, dude. I like running Earthquake over Protect personally and having Substitute, but because I like being able to just click it next to Talonflame, but obviously, you know, James got top 4, so listen to him. But yeah, very, very solid Pokemon in this format. It does well into T-Tar, into Brute Bond. It's like, it's super good in Iron Hands too, right? Iron Hands has to like fake out into Great Tusk to deal with it, to like make sure like the partner can like burn it or something. So that basically allows like the Pokemon next to it, being Talonflame, to lock down Iron Hands. So like in like a lead with like Iron Hands, or in a lead where you're facing like Iron Hands and like some other partner Pokemon, like let's say Iron Hands like Arcanine, and you have Great Tusk and Talonflame, they're forced basically to fake out your Great Tusk. So you get like a free burn onto Iron Hands because most Talonflame are running Covert Cloak. Like that's why it's like super solid into this. But yeah, like it's just a super, super good Pokemon. I really love this thing. And I've been like tearing up the ladder with it ever since I left the tournament. By the way, if you're wondering how well I did very, very bad. I did quite bad. I think I should have just brought straight up a different team and I would have performed better. But yeah, I am just going to leave it at that. I did not do good. I am going to do better. But yeah. What else do we see? Stonegener was actually in top 16. I did not notice this. This is news to me. I am a rock. I am an island. Wait. Wait, these are all rock names. Okay. Robot Rock. Okay. I mean, that's kind of cool. Sorry, I'm getting into like the novel Pokemon now. Being able to basically activate another Life Orb on these guys is kind of cool. They already have Photosynthesis as an option, but you know, doubling down on the Life Orb is very good. What else do I see during this turn? Oh, Mousehold Annihilate did really good. I'm trying to see if there was another one in top 32. I know that Freezeye ran it. By the way, Freezeye was at this tournament. He did phenomenally. Great, like just an overall great run. Okay, I didn't see any more. I did face one and it was like really rough. But yeah, Mousehold Annihilate is actually still definitely viable. We see Freezeye ended up running this. Probably Friend Guard, Mousehold. Yeah, Friend Guard, Safety Guard, or Safety Goggles, Mousehold. With like Dondozo. It's just like standard, like I'm going to click moves team. You have the Dondozo in the back to be like cleanup crew for whatever like the Fluttermane or the Mousehold Annihilate lead got rid of. We have Volcarona with like Terra Water and Rage Powder. It's very normal Dondozo. So yeah, that was kind of cool. Other things that we saw. Oh, King Gambit was like a lot better than I expected it to be. I thought King Gambit wasn't going to be good in this tournament, but we did see it get top 8. And I believe we also saw it a little bit further down. Yeah, we see another one here, top 32. I didn't think it would be good. I thought Iron Hands would shut it down, but we did see that Amelia Forbes was running it, and he had like a perfect Swiss run, undefeated 10-0. Like, that's incredibly impressive. Actually, you know, Google Amelia Forbes Swiss record. It's insane. Like, it is insane how consistent this dude plays. But yeah, Assurance on King Gambit was actually really cool, especially with Booster Energy Icy Wind on the Iron Bundle. That just means that, like, and it's also Terra Ice. So, like, you can go for, like, Terra Ice Icy Wind, get a speed drop on everything, and then the Assault Vest King Gambit just, like, gets KOs with Assurance. Like, that's really nice. Terra Flying is probably the best Terra type for King Gambit because it allows it to resist the fighting moves that it would normally drop to. That being said, obviously, like, that's going to be for switching in on, or that's going to be for, like, taking, like, a Drain Punch from Iron Hands and then hitting it back. But you still have to be, like, super careful with Wild Charge and stuff. So, like, that's one thing I don't like about it. That being said, it does really, really good into Great Tusk because Great Tusk just can't touch it. Great Tusk can't touch flying types in general. So yeah, Dondozo also did phenomenally well. I was trying to avoid talking about it. I think Dondozo is still super good. It's an archetype that's never going to go away, but I don't think it's an archetype that's like overly centralizing. Like, we see about as many Dondozo in Top Cut as we see like Iron Hands, Psy Spam, and Great Tusk Tailwind. We're starting to see a metagame develop, and we're seeing all the different archetypes that are like cropping up. It reminds me a lot of VGC 2017, how we have like 4 really good archetypes, and then they're just variants of that. And then obviously we have Perish Trap, which is now probably going to become an archetype. Wolf won with this team. And you can sort of see why it was like a really good call. A lot of the Pokemon that are really good in the metagame right now don't do well into Perish Trap. Some of the best Pokemon into Perish Trap are going to be Pokemon like Gothitelle and Fluttermane, which aren't going to be able to be trapped because Shadow Tag and also Ghost type. Where other Pokemon just do very bad into Perish Trap. Obviously, Talonflame plus Great Tusk does really bad into it because they're both super weak to the combination of just Gothitelle plus Dazzling Gleam, but also not being able to switch out on these things. Some of the bulkier Pokemon, we saw Swords Dance Iron Hands pick up like a lot in this tournament. I think this is probably going to be another Swords Dance Iron Hands. Yeah, we saw like Belly Drum and Swords Dance Iron Hands pick up quite a bit, which means they're not running Volt Switch a lot anymore. So with that in mind, that means that Perish Trap does super well into them because they can't switch. You're literally just gonna be able to like fake out and then go for like Perish Song and then pivot around them with like Intimidate Arcanine, and you just win that matchup. It's like really, really good. Dondozo obviously does very bad into Perish Trap. That was actually like the finals. We had a rematch of Ashton Cox versus Wolf Glick where Wolf was running Perish Trap. It's a big meme. Like, this is a match that happened at a regional years ago. But yeah, Dondozo does very bad into Perish Trap because if you just get Dondozo set up onto the field and you have like Intimidate spam and you have Perish Song, Dondozo can't switch with Tatsugiri in its mouth. So you just get rid of Dondozo and then it's basically game, because that's like what the whole thing revolves around. Obviously you can like play around it, but you just have to be careful not to get trapped. So yeah, overall, I really like what the format is looking like in Series 2. Some people might say like it's too centralizing around Iron Hands or Fluttermane or like the Paradox Mons. I personally don't think that's true. I don't mind a single or even 2 Pokemon being at even 50% usage, which we did see at this tournament. And that's mostly just because while they are at 50% usage, that's because they're what we call glue Pokemon. These are Pokemon that are so good that they allow other Pokemon and other archetypes to work. We see Iron Hands on Psy Spam. We see Fluttermane on Perish Trap, and also just general hyper offense with like Great Tusk, Talonflame stuff. We see Iron Bundle across the board as one of the most consistent ice and water types. So yeah, but it fits on like multiple archetypes. It's not that there's one team running around breaking the game. It's that there are a few Pokemon that are very ubiquitous due to the limited decks that will just allow for many things to be run. So I see it as a net positive. Some people might think it's a bad thing, but I think it very much is a net positive. So yeah, that's going to be my thoughts on the tournament. I'm going to be reflecting on my run on stream tonight. I'm going to go live. I'm just going to talk about like my run, my experience at Orlando. It'll be a nice little conversation. And I do want to talk about where I go forward with actually practicing this game. Because I will say that participating at this tournament with so many people around made me want to take the game seriously this year. And that means that I'm probably going to stream a little bit less and practice a little bit more. So we're going to see what that means. I might even just like I don't know. There's like a thing where like if you stream your practice, it doesn't really click the same way because you're busy entertaining. So maybe I'll stream some practice and just not really talk too much. I'm going to enter in more tournaments. I did enter a few tournaments in January, and that was like my New Year's resolution to participate in online ones more. But yeah, that'll be in like the stream tonight. I'll just talk about my run and things. So make sure you don't miss that. 6 p.m. twitch.tv/Moxie boosted. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.